Hey, what's up everybody? It's Barbados Black. I appreciate everybody for subscribing and watching. I have the newest painting right here. I could not wait to show you guys this painting. This is probably my favorite one. This is really huge. This is an 18 by 24. I can barely even get it in the frame. But I don't know what to call this one. So you guys give me some names for it, and then we'll go from there. But let's go watch and see the process. Again, I am Barbados Black. Follow me everywhere. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you shortly.
Hey, good afternoon, Grand Rising. Hope everybody's feeling well today. I have missed you guys so much. I have been super busy. I haven't even mean to be away for this long. I told you guys I was a graphic designer and also into doing that. I also, do music. I'm also a singer. So I've been really busy having to perform, having to make logos, having to do, a lot of the digital content, just having to create the stuff. I had a bunch of paintings that were finished, but I had to sit down and edit the video, so I do apologize for that, but I'm so excited to show you guys this one. This has probably been my favorite painting. This by far is definitely the biggest one. This is 18 by 24, and I was talking to another artist, like I told you guys before. He challenged me to do something bigger, so I went and got bigger canvases, and this is actually the first one that I did, and I was like, okay, so what do I want to do with this concept? I was a bit uncertain at first, so I opened up my iPad and said, let's do a few sketches, a few thumbnails before we actually get on the canvas and we can't change anything. So that's pretty much what I did for this one, and that thumbnail actually helped me out through this one. A part of the thing I think I wish I wouldn't necessarily change it, but in the thumbnail I had the head leaning a bit more down. It was a bit more kind of like slanted, kind of looking more sideways, kind of tilted a bit more. I think it gave it a bit more emotion, but I still like how this one turned out a lot. But I just have to remember that when I'm doing my sketch and I'm trying to copy the image to make sure I get the angles exactly the same. So the process for this one I tried to go with was pretty much the process that I did for the very first painting. I wanted to try to block in the colors first. So I started with this like a turquoise teal kind of color, and then I added all the shading and the highlights, and then I wanted to move on to trying to since for this one I wanted to do more of a a limited color palette. I wanted to work with colors that I thought would pop off the page but wouldn't take away too much from the blues, because I knew I wanted to use a lot of blue since this was kind of be like galaxy space themed. I figured I'd be going purples and blues. So I started to do from there to the purple, and I wanted to keep a lot of the colors, like I said, relatively simple, not super bright. A lot of times I like to do really vibrant colors, and I didn't necessarily want to go muted, but I wanted to have certain parts be more muted. That way the brighter colors could really pop this time and not necessarily take away from everything from that. So I like how that came out. So as of late, I've had this huge obsession for some reason with TV heads. I've been putting TV heads on a lot of my characters. So I was like, that would be a dope concept for painting. And I've always loved spaceships. I love space so much. It's a part of my vibe. So I figured I'd do some of that space, and I wanted to add a few you've seen me just sort of a little bit of it, but a few Pokeballs. I thought that would add something pop out. I love anime, so I wanted to add. I always try to add a little bit of elements to different things that I have. Sometimes it'll be Sailor Moon because I love Sailor Moon. Sometimes it'll be Pokemon because I always can throw a Pokeball in there, or I can throw in a different dark type Pokemon. I love to throw those in there. So I like to do little stuff like that, stuff that I think is fun, that kind of shows your personality. And also the shading with this one was different. I forced myself to primarily use that pack of, I think it's 20 something or 30 something, the paints I showed you guys that I had. I forced myself to primarily use that for this one because I really wanted to see how those paints behaved and how they interacted, and they weren't too bad. Like I said, I like how everything laid down, like how everything looked. It did take a few layers to get a lot of the texture that I wanted. Everything wasn't necessarily as flat as I wanted at first, but I think that's still just me getting used to the acrylics. I'm not a pro yet, but I am getting used to them now. But I think just layering is just a bit of the process with acrylics at this point. I think I'm just starting to understand that if you really want a certain look, you're going to have to layer those things down and then build those colors up and, blend them out. And I think with this one, I really learned how to do some different shades and different types of blending. I tried a lot of different techniques with this one and tried to bring all of those skills together. So hopefully you guys can see that on this one. I was really excited once I started adding the other colors, because then I got to see how everything kind of worked together and how everything bounced off each other. So once I got to put in the reds in here to really separate a lot of stuff, I was like, okay, now we're really getting somewhere. Now we're starting to kind of build this piece up a little bit, because like I said, the beginning parts are usually referred to as the ugly stages, but I actually like how this one came out since I blocked everything in one at a time. It kind of gave everything a chance to kind of already be built up, so it wasn't necessarily ugly. I don't like to work on a lot of different things at once. I try to focus on one part part and then get that part done, use as much of that paint as possible because I don't really like to waste a lot of paint. I try to use all of that paint, and then if I have like paint left, I'll try to blend another color with that and try to see if I can use that for maybe like a mid-tone or some other type of like texture or somewhere else in the painting. I really don't like to waste any paint because paint is not cheap. So initially I found myself trying to use a bigger brush. I have a few round brushes that I have. I'm trying to see what size they are now. I have like a 10 and I think like an 8 round that I was going to use to try to do the bigger parts. But I didn't really feel like that was giving me enough control. Maybe I don't have enough control over the brush just yet. So I opted to switch that out for a few smaller brushes. It took a bit longer, but I felt like it was easier for me to have the control, and I feel like the control over everything was what really worked for me. So I ended up using a number 4 brush primarily. It's a 4 what is this? I think it's a 4 round, and then I have this other brush I was using is a, I want to say it's a level, it says a 3 round, and a liner brush as well, because I feel like those 3 brushes kind of really gave me the control that I needed. I don't like when I have the bigger brushes and I'm trying to like create certain shapes, and I feel like I'm okay with going out of the shape because you can always correct it later, but I like to really try to have like a cell shaded style, and you have to be very clean for that type of style. So you know, won't be using too many more of those large brushes all the time, but I felt like for the background, it actually pretty came in handy. But as you'll see right here, you see me using the liner brush to create this character right here. So I felt like on this particular part, this is exactly what I mean. When I try to use a larger brush, I found myself going out the lines, but once I use this brush, I'm able to have more control, and I'm able to just block it in and do it how I need to. And you can kind of see a bit more precision, a bit more precision and a bit more control right here. So this is kind of how I like, but using those smaller brushes takes forever. So right about here is where I was really starting to feel pretty confident. I was like, okay, this is really coming together. I see the shapes. I see the large objects. They're completed. Most of the bigger, like everything is just complete at this point. We can move on. So I was very happy. I was like, okay, this is looking pretty good. It's pretty tight. Because like I said, this is my first time doing one this big. I really like doing a lot of the shading on this one. I tried to use a lot of blues and grays. I know the grays kind of made it desaturated, but like I said, I was trying to go for a bit of a desaturated tone because I wanted to give it more of a, not necessarily melancholic feel, but and not necessarily depressing, but just more of an like a wanderlust kind of feeling, I guess you can say, like almost like there's a moment in time and you're like you want to explore the scene and you're not necessarily sure like is it good, is it bad. It's more ominous. I want to leave it more open-ended, so I didn't want everything to feel specifically sad or specifically happy. I wanted it to feel not neutral, but I wanted it to feel have something there. You know what I mean? Some sort of atmosphere. And as far as creating the shading on this one, like I said, I use a lot of different browns. You'll see me going over here, like in the yellow just a second ago, I used a lot of brown in that. In these particular purples and pink mixtures, I used a lot of purple in here to try to get a lot of those colors in there. And then I used a lot of I used a blue, and it was almost like a bluish purple color that I used for the mix and the shading because I felt like it gave it a really dark color without using black, because I tried to use, I tried to avoid using a lot of black, particularly in this particular piece, because like I said, I didn't want to dull anything out. Like how you see those yellows look, that's something that I wanted to stay vibrant. So that's why I said I wanted to have parts of this that I felt like were very vibrant compared to other parts that I wanted to feel a bit more subdued. That way I can kind of guide your eye with the artwork and the colors. So as you can see, we started getting into the background, and you see what I mean now. I wanted to have a lot of this like similar colors. I wanted to go for a harmonious background. I wanted everything to be like pretty, not similar, but like I said, I wanted it all to be complementary. I wanted it all to blend in together. I wanted the blues to be every shade of blue, but different types of blues. Like I wanted to use some ceruleans, some navies, you know, all of the blues, the full gamut. And then I also wanted to use a lot of, like I said, the purples in here as well, because I really wanted to create that space vibe, but I didn't want to go like exactly like space as you see here. So this is kind of how I like it. Like that blue in the background with that yellow, I like that turquoise, that teal, really like sky blue in the back. And once I completed that teal and that sky blue, I knew like the rest of this was going to be like, all right, this is really coming together. And so for this one, I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to try to do some line art. So I went through and tried to add the highlights and like the rim lighting on this. And I figured I'd use like a blue rim lighting because I kind of wanted to have some parts, like I said, kind of to guide your eye. So since we use a pretty dark background, I wanted to use the lighter blues to kind of focus on the main character and make the characters the really a focal point, and then really kind of show that spaceship kind of glowing in space. But once on this one, I use that same brush you see right there, that really like a tight brush. I think it's that 3 liner brush that I was using earlier. I use that to line, and I use a lot of black line art, and then I also use a few of my I think they're the Posca pins that I have, so I use a few of the Posca pins as well. So you'll see a lot of that on this particular one. And yeah, here we go right here. But we're just about wrapped up here. Like I said, I appreciate you guys for watching this one. I will not be away for too long. I already have the next one finished. I'm working on editing this one now. It will be a crazy concept. This one's going to be crazy dope. So look out for that one probably next week. I'm going to have this one for you ASAP. But I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to have a bunch of content coming up for you guys pretty soon. Again, Barbados Black out. Have a great rest of your day. And I appreciate you guys. See you.